Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Put a Ring on It after show. After we watch the show on Friday, you all know that we come here, myself from Crystal XO, Kojo from Little Black Book, and of course, dating master coach, Dr. Nicole. And we spent our lunch unpacking all the relationship drama that happened last week on Put a Ring on It. So welcome. Come on in, you guys. Your chat comments keep us going. We definitely love to watch with you guys and respond back and make sure that you guys are talking about what we're talking about and see if you agree with what we're saying or not. So please keep those chats coming.
Woof, this is one of those episodes that really did test the mettle as an audience watcher. I mean, Kenneth and Shorty scenes were hard to watch. I know we got some light relief with Alfonso and Shay once more again, as Alfonso decided to put some work in. I can't wait to discuss that one. Honestly, I really can't wait to discuss that one. And obviously we saw Charlie and Otis go on their retaliation dates. That's what I call them, because that's all I'm calling their dates now. Their retaliation dates. People are just being petty. But again, this episode was quite intriguing. There were so many things to discuss that I would love to get into. And this is why we're here on the after show. We're discussing those key moments, isn't it? Back to you, Crystal.
Well, I'm excited because, I got to say, you guys know I am a girly girl. And so to see the first assignment that Dr. Nicole gave the ladies to try on wedding dresses, I was super excited. I did that myself last year and I remember that magical feeling, even though I don't know how I would have reacted to doing that in the middle of this type of relationship drama, because usually when you're doing that, you're at an amazing place in your relationship. That relationship is not the issue. It's finding the right dress and making sure everything is together. But we see the ladies trying on wedding dresses, and we also get a chance to see them talk to each other and kind of download what's going on in their individual relationships. So let's get it started. Let's kick it off with this scene with the ladies talking about, trying on wedding dresses and talking about their relationships with each other. Ladies, I'm ready.
We're so excited.
Oh, snap.
Oh my God. Charlie, you look so beautiful.
Are you feeling it, putting the dress on?
Yes. I'm trying not to cry right now.
You're definitely giving Greek goddess vibe. Look at that train. And the girls look good in that dress
beautiful.
too.
I've tried on many dresses before, but I've never tried on a wedding dress. And so to just be in that moment was pretty surreal.
Can you see yourself walking down the aisle to Otis?
Yeah. I mean, we came here to get through all of these problems that you guys have heard about. And we still have them, but we're fixing them. There's still some arguing, there's still disagreements. So I am a little worried. Are we going to be able to communicate properly? Are we going to be able to stop arguing and fighting over petty stuff?
Ooh, okay. So the first thing is, didn't Charlie look absolutely gorgeous? I mean,
He definitely did.
It's easy to get caught up. I almost forgot we were watching Put a Ring on it. I'm like, oh my God, she looks so pretty in the dress. But I think that's part of the problem, is a lot of times we get caught up in the pomp and circumstance of the idea of a wedding. And, as women, we're not taking care of the fact that this situation, there's a lot, we're putting a pretty white dress on over a lot of mess. And so even watching Charlie's response, she kind of teared up and was emotional. And Shorty says, "Are you ready to walk down the aisle to Otis?" And she says, "Yes." And I snapped out of it like, "Girl, what are you talking about? We're not ready for that. No." So I think, I love this exercise, Dr. Nicole, because it shows this fairy tale idea, but you can't have the fairy tale until you're really ready for that. And you have all the right pieces are laid out. And so often, that's not the case. And we're like, okay, well, I want to do this and I want to have this, but you have to put the work in, you have to make the right decisions. And even though she looked absolutely stunning, I just, hearing her say that she's ready to walk down the aisle to Otis, I think that's probably the most sensitive and the most vulnerable we've seen Charlie talk about her situation with Otis. If she's in regular street clothes and you ask her about her and Otis, oh no, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. You put on the dress and the veil, and it's like, I'm ready to walk down the aisle. So you see the issue that a lot of women are dealing with. It's right there in plain sight.
It's the marriage to the fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of times women are married to the fairy tale before they're married to the person.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's about making sure that the wedding is all of that. And not enough time and focus goes into making sure the marriage is all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of how we've been indoctrinated in so many ways. And shaking yourself out of that can be a little challenging because people get sucked in to the wedding like it is a vacuum like no other, right? Versus, do we have a strong enough foundation, aligned values, understanding, shared vision, clarity on why this for us? Does it have to be this? All of the really important questions, you'd be surprised how many times people don't ask them because they're afraid that asking the question will reposition the opportunity to walk down the aisle. It's like, ma'am, sir, that's in the opposite direction. You want to know that so that you're clear who you're getting married to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I need Charlie to unsee this marriage and fast. Okay. All right. Because we have not sorted out the key component issues that are plaguing us. Okay. All right. Petty won't work long in this relationship if we're getting married. But in all honesty, I do understand where Charlie and Otis are coming from. I think sometimes when you are in a relationship and you can get so caught up in, as Crystal said, the imagery, the idea, the fantasy of marriage. And it's because we centralize marriage in a lot of our lives. I mean, if you think about your progression of life, how you looked at it when you were younger, you saw yourself, going to school, getting educated, getting a good job, finding a husband or wife, getting married, getting married or husband, wife, the same thing. But, having kids, and then getting old and then, well, no one really talks about the end part, but you know what I mean? We think about the progression. So the marriage pit almost becomes this absolute importance that needs to happen almost at any cost. And this sometimes can help us have these blinkers that makes us pave over the cracks that we're seeing in the relationship, because we've placed that marriage or that wedding day, so I say not marriage, that wedding day above even our own health, mental health. And in terms of the fact our mental health of our relationship, our emotional health of the relationship, we're not in a great place. But do you know what, girl, when you see me in that white dress, y'all better know I finally done it. You can tell your friends you finally done it. You know what I'm saying? Man, them like, yeah, you done, you there, you front of the jersey now. But it becomes more important than actually focus on the health of your actual relationship, and the fear of having to start over again and put yourself in a new position where you're choosing someone else. That fear can become very real for a lot of people, especially if you're very close, where you've just done 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years with somebody, and you've maybe spoken about marriage, and maybe you're even going towards it. You start preparing things in your mind, and then you're like, wait, quit the relationship? Which is why, Dr. Nicole, my final point is what you were saying, which is sometimes when people hear information that's going to contravene their idea, it goes, whoo, listen, I'm getting married, and that's all I want to hear. Anything else that you say doesn't mean anything to me right now. I've already made my mind up. Okay, I'll regret this later on, because the short-term gain is more important than the long-term fails we'll get.
True that. Facts.
I agree. I just wonder, this show's title is Put a Ring on It. And this season in particular, I don't know that there are any couples that I would support putting a ring on it, at least not right now. Like, we don't know what the future will hold. I do think I would say for Charlie and Otis, and as Kojo alluded to, we do see some growth with Fonzo and Shay, but still not ready for a ring, because you need to be in a total different space. In my opinion, I'm not a coach, but I just would think that we should not be in a situation where we're like these issues that they're having mean that they're not ready for this. I love the wedding dresses. I'm here for it. I'm here for the beautiful, all the pomp and circumstance, but it's just, these couples are not ready for that, in my opinion.
And I think what this shows me is comes back to what you said of Nicole on the season about the premise of the show. I'm now 3 seasons in, I'm finally getting it, right? Which is that the pressure of having that put a ring of it at the end actually begins to make people want to make decisions. Because a lot of times what happens, we can dawdle in a space of gray where we are ambling along, allowing things to happen because we're okay, we're comfortable. We're not at the marriage point, but as long as we stay boyfriend and girlfriend, we're cool. No, you're not cool. Because if you actually wanted marriage, then we actually need to start looking at the actual relationship for what it really is. Sometimes we get to play in that space, but we've put a ring in it. What it does is says, all right, are you ready to marry? No. Why are you not ready to marry then? Now you got to ask the real questions now, because you were playing before, right? You're doing boyfriend, girlfriend. That's cool. I hear it. But now we said put a ring on it. Suddenly you're saying you're not committed. You're not ready for commitment. Why? Because now you have to start looking at the fact that maybe we're not that good. I've been dancing in the gray and I've been enjoying myself a little bit in that gray and ignoring certain things. So, I mean, I think that the show is doing what it does best. Put some pressure on your neck. Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't even think it does that. People are like, is it an ultimatum? Do you think this is right? And people have all of these questions. And I say, listen, the cool thing about Put a Ring on It is these people live together. Usually one or both, the conversation of marriage has come up, but the other conversations haven't. For example, when we talk about what is the vision, what does marriage together look like? You would be surprised how many are like, wow, haven't really thought about it, have never really talked about it, have never really talked about what it would look like with each other. So there's this hypothetical, but there's no conversation about what it would look like with us. Hypothetical. What's the vision here, right? And why would this make sense for us versus staying where we are indefinitely? The conversations that we miss in these relationships are critical conversations. And many are having it for the first time on the show. And that's not a slight to the couples. They are not by any chance alone. Yeah. A lot of couples have never really thought about what a marriage that's meaningful to them looks like. So even if you say, what does that look like? They're like, I don't know. Is it what your parents had? Is it what your uncle and aunt has? Have you seen anybody that has what you think you want? Okay, then what does that look like? Mm-hmm. And if you want to put people in a deer in the headlight stance, ask them that. And the flush that happens over their face a lot of times, it's something, because they know they want something. But when you ask them, what exactly is the vision? And is this the person that you're in the vision with? Whole different conversation.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. I'm going to say, I speak on behalf of women. So I know the things that we do, not that they're, are not, I'm not trying to make a general statement, but a lot of times women are focused on, if he asked me, that makes me feel, gives validity and credibility to the relationship, right? And to my impact in his life. So a lot of times the women are so focused on him proposing and that being the thing that they want. We're not really like those questions that you just asked. A lot of times those questions are not being answered. It's just like, okay, we've been dating, we may be living together, he needs to propose. And it's like, okay, so then what is going to happen after that? And they're not even thinking about that. It's like the idea of winning. I'm winning the situation over. So he proposes, I got the ring, and now I'm a wife. But what does that mean? And we haven't even talked about that. We're so focused on getting him to do something. And a lot of times there's pressure, there's ultimatums, there's just a lot of innuendos and subtle and not subtle sometimes demands of, I want to be married, he needs to get ready, he needs to propose, what are we doing next? But we haven't even dealt with any of those questions about what is that going to look like afterwards. And I would say, just from the women I've talked to and talking about relationships all the time, a lot of times the women are usually the ones that are a little bit just not quite into reality. The guy is like, I haven't proposed because we're not ready. Like, we're not ready for that. And the woman is like, well, I want the ring, I want the dress, I want the big wedding, I want that. So I think that we had, as women, we really have to understand, okay, yes, it's going to be an amazing day and that day will come, but you have to do the work. And that's what the show is really showing. You got to do the work before you get there, because you can do all that and have this big, beautiful ceremony and all these amazing pictures and, you know, bridesmaids going on trips and all that. But then you come back to a situation where you don't even know what you've signed up for at all. So, you know, I don't see men doing that a lot. I don't see men, you know, daydreaming and demanding and things like that when it comes to weddings. Coach, I was like, no.
Well, I think there's been a cultural shift too, right? In a lot of cultures, this plus marriage equals success.
Yes.
Most cultures, this plus this, whatever this is, education plus X plus marriage. Finances plus this plus marriage equals success. And marriage is one of those things. In our community, a lot of things are changing, right? And instead of that being a variable that does not shift, there are people that are like, well, this plus this equals success. That plus that equals success. Married, don't marry, well, you know, equals success. But the data does not support us. The data of marriage says if you are married, you are likely to be healthier, your kids are likely to be healthier, you're likely to live longer. So we've made a variation that does not work in our best benefit. So when people are saying, you know, I don't know that we're ready, I don't know that we're ready, are you doing what's necessary to get ready? Because saying that you're not ready for a test and not studying for the test does not an A make. So if you've decided marriage is part of your success equation, what are you doing to get ready? Versus saying, well, we're not ready. Okay, great. Awesome. Nobody wants you to get married if you're not ready. What are you doing to get ready? And is that a variable that you just decided doesn't matter? Because in other communities where it is an absolute part of what they consider necessary for success, they're doing better. So there's a part of this that we don't really talk about, but that's one of the things that excites me about Put a Ring on It, is because we're talking about an engagement. Nobody walks down the aisle. It is, are you committed in a promise to build and move forward in something that many other communities are not willing to negotiate as part of you being healthy, living longer, being successful, having stronger families. And if not, then you get to go in a different direction and see if that exists with someone else. But at the end of the day, nothing becomes ready because you just want it to be. It takes work. So for the men who say, we're not ready for that, are you ready for it? And what are you doing to get ready? For the women that say, well, I just want it to be this. It's just about the dress. He gets to say, are you going to get ready? Because some of what's happening here means you're going to fit a certain dress size, but we're not going to be ready for marriage. And what does that look like? And I think our show pushes people to have that conversation. And that's a worthy conversation. Because if you get to the point of proposal and you've done the work, you've had some really critical conversations. Now you get to decide, where does your commitment lie? But that's a community conversation that's getting really rattled for us. And it's got some implications that honestly, they're not doing us a great service.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, we are, in a good space. We see Fonzo, the next couple, is doing the hard work. I'm excited about this next clip because, we talked a couple of episodes ago about, you mentioned a man stepping up and saying, you know what, our relationship, if he has a child, a child's mother, our relationship is not the same. However, there's still value here. And I was so moved by that because so often we have this cultural conversation of baby daddy versus baby mama. I hate those terms, but that's what it is. That's what the community and the culture calls it right now. But those relationships are often toxic because they're not handled correctly. And so I love the fact that we see Fonzo stepping up and really, stretching and growing. And this conversation that he has with his child's mother could not have been easy for him. We see a lot of times Fonzo would deflect by laughing and just kind of blowing things off. But we see him really dig down and do the hard work in this clip, talking to his child's mother, Jewel.
Shay's upstairs, working as usual. And I'm going downstairs to have this phone call. Got to call the baby mother and have this conversation because I want to clear things up and let her know I'm apologizing for how I've done things in the past. And I'm a little hesitant about making the call, but I understand it's a lot on the line. Shay, family, the kids, so I gotta make the call.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
You all right?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so listen, I'm calling you because I'm getting help with myself and relationship stuff, and so I'm basically calling to apologize because you was right. I did stuff the wrong way. I've learned that, and let you know that you're still valuable to me. I ain't want you to feel like I cut you off and just throw you away like anything, but you're still valuable to me because my child's mother. So we got to make this work for him as well as for everybody, and make sure these families can come together and be as one.
Yes, you did cut me off. Yes, you did throw me by the way. You're healed now, so you're better. But I'm left broken. It's a certain way to do things in life. When you close a chapter, then you start with another one. You had a new chapter, and everything else was in it.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to start a new chapter. So I'm trying to close it out the right way, which I didn't do the first time. So that's why I'm apologizing. I deeply apologize from the heart about how I handled it.
You're not.
Feel how she got a lot of things to say about she want to get off her chest, and I get it. But we really have to move on. I mean, we're not together. I'm gonna get married, and I want her life to be happy with whatever she chooses to be with. But I still want it to be a conversation, not an argument, not be fussing.
On your end, you're okay. You still have loose ends on my side, but you don't feel that they loose. So I guess I have to screw my loose ends up myself, and then you just go on and you live a happy
Listen,
life.
that's what we're doing now. We're trying to, this is the process of starting to tie the loose ends. So I'm gonna have a conversation with you when I get back, with Mom, and then all three of us gonna sit down. Me, you, Shay, all gonna sit down and have a conversation again because we gotta make this work for Dexter.
You just have to realize that's just like with children. You don't introduce your new wife or your new fiance to your child before you introduce her to your child's mother. That's just disrespectful.
Love that whole conversation. I mean, I can relate to that whole conversation. I think a lot of people out there can. Dr. Nicole, I guess my question to you is, because trust me, that scene is going to resonate across the world. Because number one, Fonzo did not close the door. He was in one room. He cracked it open and slid over to another room, but he was not, I guarantee you the time overlapped, at some point. And so we see the culmination and basically what happened because he did not set boundaries. He probably wasn't sure at first what he was doing. So now we see hurt, because it sounds like anger, but it's really disguised, it's hurt disguised as anger, right? She's defensive because she's hurt. And he's, okay, well, I'm doing this, but I'm ready to move on. How do we do that in a way where her feelings are validated and he's able to understand, yes, she's responding this way because that is a direct result of the fact that you did not do things the right way with her. And of course, now the women are at odds because they're both hurt because he did not stand up at the time it was necessary and close that door before opening another one. So how do we get through this? I'm like, I wish we could have a scene where she comes on and because that issue is going through a lot of situations. You hear guys constantly talking about, I got a crazy baby mama. Well, she's not crazy. You just didn't do things the right way and her emotions are hurt. And this hurt, she may be acting out. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it starts with feeling not validated and feeling thrown away, like she said. So that scene was just golden to me because I know so many people can relate to it.
Yeah. I commend him because I know how difficult conflict is for him. And for many men, having the endurance, which means the muscle mass, to be able to deal with conflict is extremely important because it's not a bad thing. Conflict is not bad. It doesn't have to be volatile. There's so many options. And what a lot of men choose is there are only two options. Either we're on the same page and we're going in the direction that is meaningful, that's good, or we're not. And if we're not, I don't really know how to manage that. And often the challenge for the other person is that this is a conflict that in their mind, you've activated, made a different decision. So you've not only made a different decision, but now you can't handle my response to the decision. You can't handle my feelings to the decision. You can't handle where that has repositioned us, repositioned you in reference to me. None of those things can be talked about. It's just another decision has been made. And sometimes you haven't even communicated that another decision has been made. The way people know another decision has been made is because your behavior has taken a different pattern. And what that does is it really leaves the other person feeling quite powerless. And then they find other ways to assert their feet being on the ground. And then that may look like ways that you may not appreciate. Like, I'm not doing that so that you can have visitation. I'm not changing my schedule so that you can do X. I'm not going to do this. And all of the we opportunities start to shut down when really the people who are affected, if you have little people involved, children involved, I like to call them little people because I think sometimes when you call them children, you forget that they're people and that they're going to grow and they're going to remember. Most of our children, their beliefs are set by 6 years old. They are going to remember how you've managed each other and how you've managed yourself. So with Fonso, it's interesting to watch his body language. That conversation was not a long conversation, but look at what he's going through just to hear a little bit of her truth. And he's like, we got to move on. No, we don't have to move on. You have to help me move on. We got into this together. If we're not going to be in it together any longer, we have to help each other move on so that I can heal and do new, you can heal and do new, and we can create new together, because there has to be a new between us to be able to care for our kids, our responsibilities, not to mention all of the people that are part of our relationship, whether we have kids or not. So how about we start walking through that? And the more men, especially in our community, get tools to help them, the better this is, because it rarely has to be as bad as it turns out. Often it's bad because of lack of care. That's why it gets so bad. It's lack of care. It's poor management. But if you get in line, align with one another, and decide to manage each other with compassion, respect, regard, and good boundaries. That means we ain't still having sex. We ain't still doing stuff that says we together, but we not together. Let's just
on it. Speak on it.
Call it what it is. We've got clear boundaries and we've got clear intention, so our children and the other people in our lives can trust us to follow our lead. Then we've got something to work with. And that this conversation for Fonso is, I love when he said, that's what I'm starting now, versus feeling like this one conversation is gonna fix all of what we've done to each other. Because it's a co-created dynamic, but when you decide to make a shift, you gotta help the other person with that shift, especially when you have kids. Kojo, what say you, my brother? Pull out the note.
You know, I might say something unpopular. First and foremost, I definitely agree with the fact that we've been saying it all season. Alfonso is responsible for the way the shape of the dynamics are, because ultimately, he has failed in the passivity to really kind of let people be in their established positions in terms of where he sees them in his life and what role they're playing in his life as well. And I think that conversation kind of just showcased how difficult it is for him to be assertive and let people know, hey, look, do you know what? This is what it is, X, Y, Z. He's rubbing his forehead. He is stressed. And I feel for the brother. He is stressed in that moment, boy, trying to assert what he actually wants in that dynamic. But I'm going to say something. I'm going to need this young lady to get past this moment. I say this because I know he left the door open slightly, right? I know he didn't close it off effectively. I know he didn't do the best job in terms of having closure around what you guys were doing. Now, we don't know 100%. Maybe he was overlapping with him and Shay. It sounds like he was overlapping with him and Shay. But let me just say this now. If I see you moving on, I'm going to start my process of healing myself, because I can't be waiting to see if you're going to come back through that door like I'm a young kid waiting for my dad to come back from a long shift. No. I'm going to start my own journey. I can't wait for you to give me the green light to now start healing.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? That's the only part I was like, when I was hearing it on the phone, I was like, baby, are you waiting for him to give you the green light before you can heal yourself, babe? Like, no, that means you've been missing out on whatever you've been missing out on, because you've been waiting for him to say, I've moved on. The moment I saw you someone else, that's what we're doing. Either I'm confronting you or I'm saying, let me go and start my journey.
Remember, we are not robots, we are people, right?
I agree.
We have children. And our folks got a mom who introduced him to the woman who is now the best friend. They got all kind of nice tangled up stuff going on. So yes, she has to heal herself, but you get the response based on, in part, what you give. If you want there to be respect one to the other, the best way to model that is to give it. Now, you may just really bless up. You didn't do anything right. You didn't close anything. You didn't, you have just rough shot everything. And the person says, when they go low, I go high, right? And they've got it all figured out and they're like, it doesn't matter what you do. This is what I'm going to do. Good for you if that's what you get. But most of the time, people are in action reaction mode. So what you want to do is heal yourself. And you also want to recognize that you have to be responsible with how you manage other people. They've been having conversations or not having conversations for a minute. Now you're having a conversation, and what you recognize from her tone and what she says and how she says it is this is probably the first time they've really talked. And the problem with that is we are community. Community is our survival. This individual stuff that we're adapting to is something. I don't know what it is, but it's something. Community, though, is where we thrive. So if you're not okay, and I know I'm in part a reason why you're not okay, my communal side says, can I fix that? I can fix that. I can apologize. I can fix that. I'm going to choose Kojo and not a disparaging word. I can fix that. I'm going to say, hey, I didn't do that right. I'm not trying to disregard you. I'm not throwing you away. Because remember, robots don't really know each other's history. They're just machines. We as people, when you are with someone, you know their history. You often know their wounds. You often know the things that did not go well in a loving way. So when you manifest that towards them, you take away your ability to be a tribesman. Not to get deep, but you take away your ability to say, listen, we ain't together no more, but I got you. We're just not together. So we got to figure out what that looks like so that when the person moves on, they move on more whole, not more injured. Because everybody's moving on to somebody else, but we're all still connected.
Yeah. I think, a lot of it is, like you said, how you move on. She obviously has not had this conversation before. You could tell in his body language and her immediate response when she picked up the phone that she did not want to talk to him. So, I understand what you're saying, Kojo, as far as she should have, but we don't know what that overlappage looked like. Dr. Nicole hinted at, when we are setting boundaries and we realize we want to move on, our actions replicate that, right? So we're not having intimacy, we're being very clear and very, very intentional. And we don't know if that was the case. It sounds like there was a little overlappage, which means that she says at the end of the conversation, I'm going to have to heal myself. That means she's still hurting. They've never had that conversation. We don't know when all that overlappage stopped, right? As far as okay, this is not how we're going to act towards each other anymore. I don't know the situation, but what we do know is often we're saying one thing and our actions are not supporting that. And that does not allow someone to make, if you have feelings for someone, as Dr. Nicole says, we're not robots. If you're in love with someone, you have a child with them, you all have been acting in a family way. And then all of a sudden they have shifted without you really having an understanding of what is happening. I've been in that situation, and and I've also been the person that faked like I was okay. Oh, you want her? I'm fine with it. And that's not healthy either, because the girl that says, and I've been that guy, I am that girl that's going to automatically, oh, I'm not sweating him. He doesn't want to do that. But that comes with a huge price because I have not acknowledged my feelings. And that's just not realistic to move on from someone that you have that type of relationship with, child, family, and then to be able to just seamlessly say, oh, well, it's fine. He's moved on. I don't know where this ended, what happened. I don't understand. I'm hurt, but I'm able to just pick up and, brush my hair back and move on. That's just not realistic to what the human experience is. So I like this beginning. I do have a question though for both of you guys. So Alfonso says, well, he wants Shay and Jewel to both sit down and have a conversation, because Jewel does mention that she feels like it's disrespectful that her child met Shay before she has, and he agrees. So what is a healthy way for that conversation to happen? We see that Jewel feels some kind of way. We know that Shay feels some kind of way. What are the tools, Dr. Nicole, for them to actually be able to sit down and start to create a healthy blended family?
This is the start. The thing that I love about men, and I honestly believe this, they have some healing powers that are rarely recognized when it comes to healing the family. It's not just what a woman can do. A man can really do some things that even when everything seems broken, he can heal it and bring it back together, especially if he's present and he refuses to not choose to not be present, right? So if he says, I'm present, I'm in it, this is my tribe, these are my kids, this is the woman that I was once with, I loved her, I have a child with her, or we had a sexual relationship, we brought a child into the world, we had a one-night stand, we brought a child into the world, whatever the dynamic is, there's so many options. When you say, I know how powerful I am as a man, especially with tools in my hand, everyone in the tribe can learn from you, even if you are not with them. So what he now has a chance to do, he's changed his positioning. He's now moved into the position to say, I can heal even what I may have broken because I'm going to help. And I'm going to learn continuously so that I can stay in position of help. When a man does that, most women in the tribe will shift their positioning because now he's leading. He's saying, am I perfect? That wasn't the assignment. Otherwise, I would have failed a long time ago. I don't have this all figured out, but I come in peace. I mean no harm. And I am asserting my male goodness, yummy energy that can fix things that are broken. And I will get more tools as I go. Here's what I can offer you. Here's what I can offer you. And here's what I offer us. Well, what do I offer us? The opportunity for legacy. That's what I offer us. So that Dexter, Mr. Alfonso's son, can say, look at me. I got a mom and I got a bonus mom. And both of them hooking a brother up at Christmas. And both of them love me. And grandma loves me. And when we all come together, everybody is good with one another because we're good. This is my tribe. These are my people. Versus being a little person that has to choose. So he has begun a new narrative that if he stays in it and he does not move, he's flexible, but he is not willing to be repositioned as if he doesn't have any healing principles, it will heal. Absolutely. And that's how you get women who were once enemies who are now like, girl, Father's Day. What are we about to get him for Father's Day? They could not stand each other, but now they're like, we have a vested interest. And we're going to take care of that vested interest. Happens all the time, but it happens when a man shifts and recognizes, I got what it takes to make this better. I'm in it until it gets better.
That's that wisdom that Dr. Nicole brings every week. every week we're getting, I mean, that is the definition of leadership in it, and it's family and community and all those things that we talk about, but really don't know how to implement, you know?
Yeah. Kojo?
Hey, I think doesn't cause it all. Sometimes just let it be, let it be. Doesn't go handle this one perfectly.
Tap out.
I tap out on this one.
We try. I just came back from vacation. We try.
You came back with that vacay energy, baby. That's no worries. I won't say too much at all. You're good.
Yes.
That's me. But obviously we got to see our last couple. It was, just they've been having trouble all season long, Shorty and Kenneth. And it seems to have grown to its climactic position now, with Shorty and Kenneth going at it, letting each other know how they really feel. Shorty says, liquid courage. It was going so well, and then suddenly it's carteled off. And so we want to look at a little bit about the explosive argument, and maybe we'll have a discussion about what actually happened in this episode between Kenneth and Shorty.
I ain't no chilling out.
Chill.
We should have chilled out 6 weeks ago. This morning, I feel liberated, rejuvenated. I'm ready to, have a talk with Shorty and let her know how I feel. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. Every time I bring the real, she always point to the door after that because she can't handle the truth. But once again, I'm prepared for it. It ain't nothing new. Man, you need to try it, didn't you? It almost tastes as good as something you don't do. What's down? Just me as a man right now, who I am. I'm thinking about me. Marriage is the last thing I need. Yeah. Especially with a woman like you. I feel like a fool of a man. I've been so dedicated and willing and to do anything and to sacrifice. This woman is unappreciative. Everything is a problem. As a man, that don't make me feel good at all, but as a man, I know I have a voice to stand up and say how the I feel and what I mean, and you're gonna feel his realness. I'm like marriage at this point, and I want it someday. I want it from someone that genuinely loves me and ain't judging me for everything, know the sacrifices I made, know my work. Be honest, I don't feel none of that in you. I've been lying the whole time to myself, like making an illusion. I was like, man, she good, like she love me. Like, man, this don't love you, boy. Stop lying to yourself. You done came on this bitch and told everybody in the world how you feel for me. Girl, you ungrateful as the
It's interesting to hear Kenneth boldly bashing me the way that he is, because that's not typical Kenneth. But seeing him drinking makes me think that maybe some of that liquid courage is what has him losing his mind right now.
You got me up. Yeah, you do. And be honest with you, you wasn't even my flavor. I lost myself, man. People that know me, know me. They be like, boy, you out your damn mind. What the hell wrong with you? Shake back. Come back. We know you, boy. And my thing is, I gotta stop making this seem like you give a You don't. You weak. I would never settle for that. You might think I'm talking and babbling on, but this is me real.
You should go pack your stuff up so you can go ahead and get up out of here, because I'm feeling the same way that you're feeling. I'm not feeling you. So, no, I don't have more patience than 3 years to wait on a man to get his stuff together.
Oof. Oh, that was definitely hard to watch. I think it was hard for everybody to watch. Even watching it, again in that clip is difficult to watch. But what I would just say to start it is like, Kenneth is drinking, but I don't think that those words and that energy is coming from that liquor. It's coming from him feeling like that inside, and that, the alcohol maybe giving him the okay to say it. But it's not, all that stuff is stuff that we've seen him suppress, or maybe not show the cameras, the entire time. And he he got to a boiling point where he's no longer able to suppress it and put on and show us the representative. And that's the reality. This couple is hurtful on both sides to me, because you see, they genuinely don't want to be together. They are together out of a very negative and toxic pattern. But Shorty obviously has no respect for him, and he obviously does not have any respect for her, but they have stayed together. And I think I always say this about the show, this is a reflection of so many other couples. Hope that the two of them hopefully are really going to go their separate ways and move on. But there's so many couples that are in this negative, toxic pattern, and they're staying together, whether it be out of fear of not knowing what else is out there, or not wanting to deal with themselves. So just sticking, digging their feet in and staying put is the thing to do. But their internal feelings towards each other. There was a scene where Shorty looks at him and she says, disgusting. That's what we see him saying to her in his way in this scene. So it's not that he got drunk and just lost it. It's that he drank and allowed his true, all that negativity that we've seen him suppressing all season, just got its license to come out. And it is ugly, just as it's been ugly over the past episodes, watching her speak to him. They both have very toxic behavior towards one another, and hopefully they will move on, like I said, and go their separate ways. But obviously other people that are in that and can see themselves in a relationship like that will realize we're doing more harm to each other. If I know you don't respect me, staying here and taking jabs at you does not help my self-esteem. If I know you're not what I want in a man, I need to leave, as opposed to berating you and trying to make you feel bad because you don't live up to the standards that I expect. I have to love myself enough to say, this is not for me. Both of them need to love themselves enough to say that this relationship is not for either one of them.
Kojo, what's for you? Look at you, waiting for me for a second. He like, come on back, Nicole. What do you have to say, sir?
You know what? Kenneth has been boiling for a very long time. He's been stewing on this for a very long time. And it was scary to watch. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? It's the unpredictability of seeing some of the movements he was making, right? As much as it was the energy and the tone and some of the words he was saying, it was the unpredictability. There was a lot of movement. And even for me as a man, if I see another man moving the way he was moving, my hands are ready. I'm just being honest with you, because I don't know what can happen at this point. Because the way you're moving around the place, you get close for a minute, you back away, you go outside, you come in, you're now leaning over the edge of the couch, you're now leaning on the couch, your legs over. There was a lot of movement that at any moment, I don't know how you're going to behave. There was a lot of unpredictability in that moment, which is what for me made it concerning even the more. In regards to what he said, I think it goes back to what I've said about Kenneth for a long time. And I will say this, worshippers will always die by sacrifice. This is what happens. And this is why I talk about nice guys versus good guys. I don't like nice guys, and neither do women. Nice guys always are a problem, because nice guys don't have good boundaries. They're not assertive. They don't know how to say how they feel. They bottle things up. They use niceness as a tactic to get inside. And then they do what Kenneth does. Bottle it all up, boom. And so it's like, watching Kenneth explode in that moment, all those truths, had it not been the drinking, had he been sober enough to be like, hey, look, this is how I'm feeling, X, Y, and Z, we don't get this scene. But we get this scene because you've bottled everything up. You have tried to kill her with niceness. I'm not saying Shorty's innocent, by the way, but not a shot. But you've tried to kill her with niceness to try and broker some leverage in the relationship with your, I'm being nice, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you can see how it's ended now. Now she's no longer playing ball, because this all happened because it was at the point where she said, they had that last conversation where she said, I basically can't see marriage. I'm pretty much at the end of my door. I'm pretty much packing my stuff and I'm pretty much going. That was the last kind of conversation we're really kind of having. And now you explode. So now I've got to take into account everything we were just seeing in this last episode, right? So I believe Shorty's got some things to work on, but we take this all the way back now to episode 2, where you're sitting in the car and you took her phone. We now have to get back to the fact that she told us, or she told Hollywood, I've tried to leave several times, but he won't allow me to leave. I now have to look at those incidents at a much more deeper level because you've just shown this to me. I was looking at it deep before then, but now this is the evidence we've seen on our screen that behavior is not isolated anymore. It's part of your ethos of behaviors. Even when she's saying, you can pack your bags and go, you can be out of here. She's ready to go and I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm ready to be out of here. Like, this is done. And you're still saying in your mind, I'll be back. And I believe it. You're probably going to force your way back. I believe you're going to try again. I believe you're going to say some things, try and get her back. I believe you're going to, try your best, right? But now I have to look at you as somebody I have to fear now, because it's no longer just a boyfriend where, your boyfriend maybe turns up and says, I miss you and I care for you. Like sometimes, them kind of things happen, or your girlfriend goes, I miss you. It's no longer that innocent thing anymore. You are now a danger emotionally and potentially physically to this woman. We have to look at you differently. This behavior capitalizes everything that's happened on that season. And I can't give you a pass. We can't give you a pass on that behavior. This has got to be nipped in the bud. And I believe someone needs to step in and to separate these two, because as toxic as I believe she is, you are a danger now physically. And the difference between men and women, is why I say we're not equal, we're equitable, is because if it gets physical, this ain't a fair fight. So there's no equality here. So I have to look at your actions with even more intensity, and we talk about femicide and talk about the rates of how Black women are being killed. I can't play with you, bro. No offense to you. You may think you're just being emotional, but your emotional can hurt somebody. And I can't rock with that. I know I'm being a bit strong with my words, but that's how serious I believe the incident actually is.
Let me add something to the conversation. We have a responsibility to ourselves to protect our water. And what I mean, drinking a glass of water, it's down to the bottom. I have a responsibility to make sure nothing toxic gets in, right? So that I'm drinking from a clear glass. We have sometimes too much leverage in what toxic behavior looks like. And it is quite costly. I'm not going to go into whether or not he's more toxic than her, she's more toxic than him. What I am going to say is very clear, is that these two individuals are very toxic towards each other. And when you are toxic towards each other, the opportunity to escalate is more prevalent. It is. So your job in self-respect is to say, the way you talk, the things you do, your lack of boundaries, your lack of respecting my space, respecting what is confidential, et cetera, says to me, you should not have the privilege of being able to hurt me. Because that's what relationship is. You being close enough that you have the privilege to hurt me because I am vulnerable and connected to you and with you, but you choose not to because you honor me, you regard me, you see the blessing that I am and you are when we are in the same space. When you see a person cannot be responsible for that responsibility, you usually, nobody just walks up to you and smacks you in a bar and then says, let's go eat. I don't know those people. Do y'all know those people? Doesn't happen that way. So when you see that there are boundary violations on either part, and the person cannot handle the privilege of being at your table, you have to make a different decision. It's not your fault what they do, right? So we're not talking about blame, but what we are saying is you have to first manage your own vessel, period. And be able to say, this is not love. This is toxic. And you're trying to fill my glass with mud. That's not allowed here. I wish you peace and farewell, good tidings and bye-bye. Because what we're seeing now is something that it's hard for us to understand and explain, right? It's hard for us to see, but it happens way too often. And people can show you over time how lack of respect, lack of boundaries, lack of respecting each other's boundaries, little violations that become termites. That's the only way I can put it, because they're little, but they add together. And before you know it, everything is eating away at the wood. Now you're checking each other's phone and you're checking each other's credit card statements and come on. And it just builds and builds and builds because there is a lack of ability to say, I get the right to say how you drive on my freeway. You speed too much. You don't follow NAS sign. Did you hear me say that, Kojo and Kristen? You don't follow NAS sign, not no sign, NAS sign. That means you can't regard what's happening here. Can't trust you here because you don't know how to take care of this. So I'm going to release you to be free. And if you can't obey my desire and decision to release you once I have boundaries, then there are other things I have to activate to make sure you obey my boundaries. So we've got some lessons to learn with Shorty and Kenneth that I hope we don't miss. Because if we're not able to see how our self-respect teaches others how to treat us, then people can come and do what they want. And that is when we become in situations that are really challenging because they didn't respect it at the door. You got to respect it at the door. And you have to keep respecting it. So watching him was very hard because he really was imploding. He didn't touch her, right? He said some really mean things and he diminished himself. He diminished his power, his own self-respect, his own self-regulation. But we've been seeing that a lot this season. And we've been seeing how their exchange breeds more toxic energy. Now, what's going to be interesting for our audience is do they have a sense that a lot of this could have been avoided? It's going to be interesting to see what our audience says. Could a lot of this have been avoided? And how? What decisions could either person make to shift this by honoring themselves first? Both of them.
I don't think either of them this season, as of yet, we still got a little bit to go, but I don't see accountability for the place the relationship is in on either side, right? So it's obvious that Shorty wants out. Like I said, it's been obvious from the beginning. It's obvious that Kenneth is not happy, but I've never heard either party say, you know what? I should have paid attention to this. This is where I went wrong. This is what, because it's very much, well, he's doing this, she's doing that. And Kenneth actually was just in denial. Like, this is what I want. It's not really what you want, sir. It's not what you want, because the way your actions are not in line with the fact that this is the woman that you're truly in love with. You are taking screenshots of her bank account, sir. No, that's not how you treat a woman that you love. You're not, you saying that I'm just going to sit here and not date, and that's not really what you want. I don't know why you're saying that. So what I'm hoping we'll see is that they will go their separate ways, but we'll be able to see a little bit of self-reflection for Shorty to say, you know what, he wasn't what I was looking for. This never was for me, and I should have made the decision to do differently at this point. And the same thing for Kenneth, because it's clear he knows that she doesn't like the man that he is. And I don't think, and as he said, it's so interesting because she was just sitting there with her face like, this is the Kenneth I've been waiting for. She knows that was him. She was sitting there like, get it all out.
And what she says is very interesting. She says, this is not regular Kenneth. This is not him. Maybe it's his drinking. She never says, this is how he shows up all the time. Y'all just get to see it. She says, this is not him. Maybe it's his drinking. And the thing that we often have to be able to say as community, don't poke the bear. Manage yourself. Make decisions that honor yourself and honor the tribe. Even if that means, I'm so sorry, this cannot continue because I've got some things that you're now pushing my buttons. And if I don't manage myself, I will become super critical of you. If I know myself, right? I got some tendencies, right? And because of our exchange, I know that this gives me a license to move into a space that is not my best self. So I'm gonna let you go. Okay? Always looking out for community, self, and the tribe. Because when we look at them, if you're looking, what you clearly see is if they break up, they're going somewhere else. They're going to show up at somebody else's door. Kenneth showed up in Myasia's life. Shorty will potentially show up in Tavy's life or somebody else's life. This is a cycle and a circle, a cycle and a circle. It's our job to say, let me opt out. This is not the playground that I should be in. And a lot of people may not want to hear that because everybody blames somebody, fix them, make them do better. You fix you. You do better. If it's showing up in more than 2 or 3 relationships, it's you. Go figure out who can help you, right? Home Depot is a coach. Home Depot is a therapist. Home Depot is a men's group. Home Depot is a book. To fix yourself so you show up in the tribe better next time. That's what I'm hoping for both of them. And gratefully, because of how our show works, it would never have been volatile because that's not what we're doing. Thank God. We are all in agreement. That's not what we're doing. But if we weren't there, what would this have looked like?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Stuff.
And just to even that as well, because I think from a male perspective, I think, when you have a feeling of inadequacy, you're always in a space of deficit, trying to make up, those extra mileages that between yourself and that expected standard. I think we spoke about this last week, Dr. Nicole, where we spoke about, the expectations and the weight that Shorty has for Kenneth, and that consistent place of trying to be results orientated. Everything you're doing is being measured. Everything you're doing is being taken as a measurement. And if you place yourself there, you ask yourself the key question, why did you place yourself there? Number one. But number two, also, what does that do to you as an individual? You know, and that amount of pressure makes someone crumble. And I'm not putting the blame on Shorty. What I'm saying is, as a man, if you don't have a hold of yourself and what you expect of yourself first and foremost, and let that be your standard and your guard, you start operating on what other people expect from you. You know, we heard Kenneth berating, saying, you know, I have friends telling me, this ain't you, Kenneth, this ain't you, Kenneth. Well, Kenneth, are you here? So why are you here? If they keep telling you why, Kenneth, it's not you, it's not you. But you here, Kenneth, and you've been here for a little while. So it is you, right? You just haven't seen that there's a part of you that's responding and wanting to be here. There's something that's in you that is being drawn to Shorty. It's the same thing we said about Shorty a few weeks ago, saying, I'm above this relationship. Well, then, babe, why are you here? Both of people keep saying they're above this relationship, but y'all here. Because it's really your standard. Until you heal, this is your standard. You want more, but this is your standard. Until you heal, this is still your standard. And I think for Kenneth, you know, same as Shorty was saying about the frustration, there's a lot of frustration you're feeling right now, right? Because you betrayed yourself. You know, when we betray ourselves, we tend to try and blame other people, but it's actually you're angry at yourself because you know this is not what I should be doing. This is not what I should be accepting. I deserve more than this. And that's fine. But if your inadequacy leads you to now behave as he's behaved in this particular episode, you really got to question the relationship. Is this making me better? And number two, you've got to question your level of self-discipline, that it takes you to that level. We can all be angry, we can all be frustrated, we can all be hurt, but it's not the problem. The problem is, what do you do when you feel that way? What is your action and what is your potential next move? I think Kenneth is going to really have to look at himself watching this series back, just at this end part. Like, you let yourself down big time, but there's been seeds that have been planted throughout the course of the episode that have shown that the behaviors.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we are being really blessed with on the show is the opportunity to not look at moments, but look at roots. Moments are moments. Those roots are what you really have to pay attention to, so that you can pay attention to the root, pluck the root, do what is necessary to bring about a different context, a different behavior, a different future. So I think we've got a lot to learn from this Shorty and Kenneth conversation, like the other couples, but definitely with how it has played out, to be able to see what do we have to do to keep our relationships healthy and know earlier when they are not, and when they're showing signs of toxicity that we have to attend to and many times walk away from.
You know, Dr. Nicole, I want to just say that this episode, you've talked community. And I think that's something that all of us can start to look at our relationships differently, because there is this idea, oh, he's not what I want, so I'm going to move on to the next thing, right? And oh, she ain't doing what I want, so I'm going to move on. And we're not thinking about what damage are we doing to that person? I've heard men say, well, you know, I cheated and I know she was so hurt she could never get over it, so I left. And I remember thinking to myself, what? That is such a cowardly thing. And he's like, well, I'm not trying to be a coward. I just know I can't fix it. She's too mad, so I have to move on someplace else. Same thing with women. You know, I've lost respect for him. And so I've talked to him a certain way, and I know I got a slick mouth. And so let me just move on because I can be disrespectful. But I have never heard until this conversation, us thinking about, what damage am I doing that another woman is going to have to deal with? What damage, what have my words done to him that have wounded him, so that when he goes to the next relationship, he's already wounded and feels less than? In the same token, okay, I cheated or I did this to her and I hurt her. Yes, I left, so I don't have to look at it, but I shot her and left her on the ground, and now someone else is going to have to clean up that blood or clean up those wounds, or her reaction to him is going to be rooted in what I did. And I think as a community, if we can start looking at that, it's not about, oh, I want the best person for me and just forget everybody else. But if we can actually start trying to do better, that was so powerful. You fix yourself and you do better. Because if you are not with him, you shouldn't want him to hurt the next woman because of the wound that you put on him. And vice, the same thing with women on men or men on women or whoever you're with. We have to start looking at ourselves as community. And I really love that that point was driven home in today's conversation.
And I think that's what we're doing with this show. I think that in my heart, that's my intention. I feel like that's what we want from a network standpoint. I feel like that's what we want from a production standpoint. I feel like that's what Will Packer wants, and that's what Lighthearted wants. We all are trying to create a conversation that is wrapped in entertainment, but there's so much goodness for us to get to be able to do better and be better. And that's what we're committed to. It's wrapped in entertainment. We know that. It is television, but it's not fabricated. It's not at all costs. It's not grimy and messy. It is committed to this conversation because when you know better, and you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So these conversations are giving us an opportunity to know some things, not in judgment, but what we say all the time, don't judge, join. Join the healthy part of the conversation. You don't have to judge it. You just have to understand it and use the best parts of it for yourself to do better in the tribe.
Great place to end this conversation this week. You've had quite a mouthful today, haven't you guys, audience members? It's been really good having yourselves, Dr. Nicole and Crystal, discussing this latest episode. There's been a lot to go through. We've gone from dresses now all the way to talking about roots, so, there's a lot. There's been a lot that has been discussed today. But listen, audience members, we always appreciate you. Since Dr. Nicole has spoken so eloquently on community, this is a community in itself. And I want you to make sure you're liking this video, you're sharing this video, and you're subscribed to their own TV channel as well. All right. Make sure you follow Dr. Nicole on Instagram, on Twitter and YouTube, and you follow Crystal XO on YouTube and myself, Little Black Book 91 as well. Again, leave a comment down below and comment in the chat as well. Get involved in the conversations. Let us know your thoughts and your feelings. We will see you again very, very soon at another lunchtime period. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There are more ways to watch OWN now than ever before. For more information, go to findown.tv.